Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. I'm Nate, 39. Tuesday night. I was icing my left knee after men's league, reheating Sunday's chili in a saucepan, when she leaned on the counter with that faraway look and said, "With him, I finally feel free." My brain didn't explode. It slowed. Every small tell from the past 6 months stepped out of the shadows. Phone flipped face down. A new passcode. A fragrance I hadn't bought. The way she smiled at a screen and tucked the smile away when I walked in. I set the spoon in the sink and answered, "Steady, then be free, starting now." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. The performance adjusted mid-scene. It wasn't a confession anymore. It was a review of my failures. I had been distant. I didn't ask enough about her inner world. I made home feel small with routines, lists, reminders. She never would have looked elsewhere if I hadn't built a cage. I looked at the door she'd named. If freedom has a name, it usually has a number attached, a familiar avatar, a thread of messages that runs late and bright. I asked, calm, what plan she had now that the truth was in the kitchen air. She stared past me at the muted game on TV like a referee might rescue her. Then she pivoted. It was about her growth, not a person. He's not the point. A minute later, a coworker's name slipped into the room like a dropped fork. Not the point, but there it was, humming between the refrigerator and the stove. My knee throbbed from pickup, not from panic. I took my bowl to the table and ate standing up. Somewhere between bites, sorrow tried to rent a room. I let it wait in the hallway. I had things to do before I felt anything. She called my response cold. I called it clear. We were not going to talk about feelings while she was using mine to triangulate a better angle with someone else. She paced like a storm, trying to remember its path. You stopped showing up for us. You work too late. You don't listen. The lines landed, practiced and precise, as if rehearsed in a group chat. Maybe they were. Her sister's text arrived before I finished washing the pot. A tidy paragraph about growth and autonomy. A friend posted a meme about women choosing themselves and tagged her. Another friend liked it. The choreography was already running. I didn't step onto that stage. I walked down the hall and opened the drawer that holds everything important. Titles, insurance cards, the folder with tax returns and household logins. I set it on the desk and breathed like a man in an airport who knows which gate he needs. No rush or scene, just a gate. Back in the kitchen, she hovered at the edge of my vision. You don't even look upset. I looked at the faucet I'd replaced in March, the caulk line I'd finally gotten right. I'm not a man who shows feelings on command. The old me would have chased, fixed, promised. The man in the kitchen had stepped out of that costume and left it folded on a chair. I remembered other tells. The gym across town when there's one 4 blocks away. The team offsite with no address. The lingerie order that hit my email receipt at 1:11 a.m., shipped to her office, paid with my card. I closed the tab back then and told myself it was a glitch. Tonight, the glitch had a voice. I didn't ask the question that begs. I kept to the questions that sort reality. What do you want right now? Where will you sleep tonight? Questions that require verbs. She tried the soft focus montage. We had history. I was her best friend. She didn't want to throw everything away. I just need to feel alive. I pictured jumper cables on a battery that still worked fine. The problem wasn't dead power. It was lighting a different car. When I told her I'd be moving all practical communication to email, she blinked like I'd switched languages. That's so formal. Formal is how you hold a boundary when the informal has been abused. I wiped the counter because hands need jobs when the mind is done explaining. I could feel her searching for leverage. She found the oldest one, my good heart. She went quiet, the kind of quiet that makes a man patch holes that aren't his. She hovered at my shoulder until I could smell the perfume again. Can we not do this tonight? The old me would have bought that line and paid interest. We're already doing it, I said. Her phone lit up on the counter. That same name in the preview banner. The screen dimmed, then lit again. I didn't need proof. Proof had been speaking all night. I went to the hall closet and pulled down the small roller bag we use for weekend trips. Power cable, toiletries, 1 pair of jeans, 2 shirts, the hoodie that fits like a decision. I didn't leave. She asked what I was doing. I said I was removing confusion from the house. Simple, like unplugging a faulty lamp. She called it petty. I called it safe. We were learning new vocabulary at speed. Around 10, her mother called my phone. I let it go to voicemail. The message was kind, then slanted. Take care of her, give her space. I appreciated the kindness. I rejected the assignment. Space isn't the problem, aim is. If you point freedom at my chest, I won't stand here holding the target. I wrote one email draft to myself with a list titled, First Morning Actions. Bank, cards, subscriptions, door codes, not even reaction, alignment. If the story is freedom, let the budget say the same word. She lingered in the doorway like a person who'd wandered into the wrong house and was trying to remember the address. She tried once more to reset the scene. We could do a weekend away, talk to a counselor, call this a rough patch. None of those things live in a room where another name has been invited to sit. I took the chili off the stove and rinsed the pot. Clean metal, clear water. She told me I was making a mistake I'd regret. Maybe. Men can live with mistakes. What we can't live with is corrosion. It moves quiet and stays busy. You only notice when the beam gives. She asked if I hated her. What I felt was lighter than love and heavier than indifference. Call it gravity returning to its job. Before midnight, I walked the house and gathered what was mine by presence. My watch from the nightstand, the spare key, the gym card, the field notes notebook with scribbles from a better spring. No drama. I left the photo frames. Memories are already scanned in muscle and bone. You don't have to pack them. Back in the kitchen, I wrote one last thing on the notepad we keep for groceries. We're moving to email for logistics. Respect the boundary. No signature. She knows my handwriting. I turned off the light and let the quiet settle. Somewhere in the dark a phone buzzed. Somewhere else a man questioned a choice. I didn't need to know which one. The only choice I needed to trust was mine. I slept on the couch that night because I chose my own ground. I set an early alarm and pictured the list. The morning would be a clean cut through fog. Facts, not speeches. In the minute before sleep, I let the final sentence stand without ornament. She wants to feel free. So do I. Tomorrow, we both find out what that costs. Morning hit like a receipt printing. No music or speeches. I poured black coffee and opened the list I'd typed last night. First morning actions. Numbers, not moods. Bank first. At 7:05, I called the credit union, gave my passphrase, and removed her as an authorized user on every card in my name. Freeze, reissue, ship to my office. Done. Joint checking next. I moved the balance to my separate account and left the joint with enough to cover utilities already scheduled. I paused the auto transfer I'd set up on our 3rd anniversary because she said it made her feel safe. Safety isn't a subsidy for secrets. In the ledger, I left a visible note. Temporary household runway through Friday. Subscriptions. Switches, one by one. Streaming plan reduced, her profile gone. Rideshare, my card off, hers on. Grocery delivery, wine club, athleisure boxes, shifted to her card or canceled. Midnight Comforts now had morning math. Phone plan. I ported my number to a solo plan and requested account separation. No drama, just a boundary. Insurance. I audited auto, renters riders, health. Anywhere I was payer and she beneficiary without reciprocal contribution, moved to neutral or review. I didn't strip coverage, I stripped assumption. Payroll. Direct deposit to my separate account. Address updated to the short-term rental I'd already scouted. A quiet one-bedroom with a lock that looked like it kept promises. By 8:10, confirmation stacked in my inbox. User removed, card replaced, plan changed, refund issued. I saved them in a folder named Alignment. Not revenge. Alignment. Only then did I text her one sentence to steer the day where it needed to go. Per your freedom, all shared comforts have moved to parity. Check email. I put my phone face down and started a load of laundry. Peace is a rhythm. It begins with small machines. Public alignment started at noon. Not a smear campaign. An update at the places that matter. I sent one email to our closest friends, 2 couples we actually vacationed with. Subject, update. 3 sentences. We're separating. Please be kind to both of us. If you hear I was controlling, know that my only control here is over my wallet and my calendar. Adults can hold facts without attachments. At work, I met with my manager for 15 minutes. You'll see an address change on HR forms. I'm fine, I'm focused. He nodded the way men do when they've been through it. Her group chat moved fast that afternoon. I didn't need to read it to know the plot. He's petty, he's abusive, he's cutting me off. My answer stayed the same. Turn off the faucet you're not drinking from. The water was always hers to find elsewhere. At 3:05 an email arrived. Did you seriously cut me off? I need the flight for the girls' trip. I replied once. Booked on my card, refunded to my card, canceled by my choice. Your freedom doesn't bill me. Exact, not cruel. At 4:30, I signed the rental. I unpacked with deliberate slowness. Toothbrush, 2 shirts, 1 pair of shoes. Then I set up an email filter named Boundary and watched her messages slide into it like rain into a gutter. Evening brought the backyard dinner with mutual friends. Paper plates, a cooler full of ice. When someone asked where she was, I said, she told me she's free with someone from work. I respected that and stepped back. No tone. Truth doesn't need seasoning. No one argued. Later a friend asked, you good? Better than last night, I said. We watched the maples split the sunset and didn't say her name. Around 9, she texted like we were still us. Can you Venmo for the cleaner? What about the wine delivery? The gym renewal hit. Fix it? The cleaner was prepaid once to prepare the house for a key handoff. The wine club died at sunrise. The gym card sat in my wallet, quietly choosing me. Small stone of reputation, then I was done. I emailed the HOA contact. We're separating. Please issue a guest pass for her through month end. After that she'll handle her own. Bureaucracy is armor when life is loud. Back at the rental, I cooked eggs in a pan that didn't remember anyone else. I opened a new notebook and wrote 3 lines. Don't fund what disrespects you. Don't hide what protects you. Don't explain what a fact can carry alone. Before midnight, one more checklist for morning. Credit freeze, so no shared applications. Car title review. Removing emergency access to my cloud. Not because she's a villain. Because I'm a steward. Good men lock the door when they leave a house, even if they're never coming back. I slept on a bed that hadn't learned our shape. I expected the hollow ache and got something cleaner. Consequence, maybe. Or relief. The difference is sometimes only the width of a signature. The alarm went at 6. I made the bed with square corners. I put on the hoodie that fits like a decision and headed out, passing the mirror without asking permission. Public alignment isn't people-pleasing. It's closing the loop so no one who cares about me has to guess the story. Financial lockout isn't cruelty. It's math catching up to truth. On the way to the car, a last message from her. Can we talk tonight? I miss you. I added it to the boundary folder and let the filter do its quiet work. Some things you answer. Some things you file. Today, I answered with a ledger and a key that only fits my door. The first ripple wasn't dramatic. It was a 9:13 a.m. text. You're cruel. I can't believe you cut me off. I posted a single reply that could live in a courtroom if it needed to. We're financially separate per your choice to pursue another relationship. For logistics, email. Then I muted the thread and let the day breathe. By noon, guilt had changed outfits. After everything I've done for you, I gave you my 20s. You owe me compassion. I read each line once and filed it. Compassion is not a line of credit you can run up in the dark and expect me to pay off in daylight. That evening, the seduction version arrived. Photos, lights low, lingerie I recognized from a receipt shipped to her office months ago. I didn't reply. The boundary wasn't afraid of lace. It was indifferent to it. At 1:07 a.m., panic showed up. Are you awake? Please answer. We need to talk. I watched the dots appear and vanish and pictured a fire that didn't involve me. I slept like a man who had returned his keys to the right doors. Morning brought real-world gravity. She emailed about the car insurance. Her card declined. This is financial abuse, she wrote. I answered with 3 bullet points. The policy number, the date I provided notice of separation, and the amount due. You are responsible for your portion. If you need a payment plan, call the insurer. Facts made better bouncers than speeches. Mutual friends started pinging me the next day. Nothing dramatic, just check-ins. When one asked what happened, I used the same sentence everywhere. She told me she feels free with someone from work. I respected that and separated. People either understand plain talk or they don't. I didn't try to convert anybody. Truth doesn't apply for membership. Midweek delivered the twist. A friend from her circle, one of the reasonable ones, called from the parking lot of a coffee shop. You don't need details, she said. But he's not giving her what she imagined. He blocked her after she asked for more. I thanked her for the courtesy and didn't gloat. Gravity does its work without applause. That night, my rental felt less like a temporary shelter and more like a place that remembered me. I cooked, read a few pages, and noticed the jaw pain I'd worn for months was gone. On day 5, she asked to talk like adults. I proposed neutral ground, her parents' living room, because truth behaves better under family photos. She arrived in a sweater that looked like an apology. She started with tears and speed. He weaponized money. He told people lies. He abandoned me. I didn't chase any of it. When she paused, I used my line like a carpenter uses a level. You told me you felt free with another man. I stepped back, aligned finances with that reality, and corrected the record with the people who would hear about it regardless. Her mother asked me if there was a path back. I didn't look at my wife when I answered. If there were, it would require truth first. The relationship can't breathe under a lie. Her father cleared his throat, then asked his daughter if she had been truthful. That question landed like a dropped book. She looked at her hands. She said, I made mistakes. The way people say, I lost track of time. He didn't push. He just nodded, and the room learned a new silence. We set practicals. A date to collect the rest of my things, a time for me to hand over the last garage fob, utilities to be transferred to her name. No shouting. Paper and pens doing most of the labor. Outside, she caught my sleeve. Can we talk alone? We stood beneath a maple trying to remember August. She said she missed me, missed us, missed Saturday mornings, and the way I always filled the gas tank when it hit a quarter. Nostalgia is a liar. It shows you the room after the dishes are done. I told her I believed the good we had, and I believed her sentence about freedom even more. Both can be true. Only one gets to drive. She tried one more lever, fear. People will think you're heartless. I smiled because I had already met that shadow. Some will, I said, and some will see me choosing not to pay for my own erasure. She shook her head. She wasn't ready to call what she'd done by its name. That's her work, not mine. I met my lawyer the next morning. We reviewed a draft separation agreement. Simple language, clear boundaries, separate finances, no new joint debt, possession schedules for the car, and the few shared items we still cared about. We included a non-disparagement clause. I left with a manila folder and a sense that the floor beneath my feet had stopped moving. Word moved through our circle without me pushing it. The folks who trade in drama lost interest because I didn't feed them story beats. The ones who care sent small things that matter. A spare air mattress, a set of pans, a note that read, "Proud of your quiet." I put that note in the drawer with the lease because both were proof I existed outside her weather. Life for her got real in small, expensive ways. The wine club stopped arriving. The house cleaner texted her rate directly. She learned how to log into the utility portal. None of it is cruel. It's what adulthood looks like when an invisible helper disappears. She came to the rental once, unannounced, eyes red, a speech in her hands. I didn't open the door. I slid a printed note under it. Respect the boundary. Email. She called that cold. I call it a pilot light. It keeps the house safe without burning it down. When we finally met to swap the last boxes, she tried on blame one more time. You could have fought for me. I thought about all the ways I had fought over the years. Small repairs, big apologies, constant plans, invented romance on nights she called love performative. Fighting isn't chasing someone into a room they clearly chose. It's choosing yourself when the other person chooses the door. On Sunday, I drove to the old house to pick up my last tool bag. The lawn needed cutting. I didn't touch the mower. Maintenance is for owners. I left the spare key on the hook and the garage fob on the windowsill, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was abandoning anything. You can't abandon what has already released you. Back home, I sat on the rental stoop with a coffee and a simple list for the week. Signed the agreement, finished the project at work, book a weekend hike. The phone buzzed with a screenshot of her story, something about healing and accountability. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's a costume. I watched a structure I had propped up for years lean into its own weight and creak in the dark. When the beam groaned, I stepped back. That's not abandonment. That's physics. And for the first time in months, the house I live in, my life, my body, passes inspection without me having to lie on the form. 7 days after the kitchen sentence, she stood outside my rental with a tote bag and eyes that looked like they hadn't slept. I wasn't surprised. The week had been busy with gravity. Accounts split, truth placed in rooms that needed it, silence where noise used to live. I opened the door and let her speak first. She said she was sorry. She said she'd panicked. She said the coworker wasn't what she thought, and neither was freedom. She reached for my arm, like muscle memory might override decisions. I didn't step back. A man can be kind without offering himself up as proof of it. I set a single page on the table. Terms, plain as a grocery list. Separate finances, indefinitely. A written no contact to him, sent and copied to me. Individual counseling for her, twice a month, proof of attendance. Joint counseling after 8 sessions of hers. Transparency by behavior, not confessions. Calendars shared, travel receipts saved. Honesty on the first breath instead of the third. No public spin. If people ask, we both say the same sentence we've already said. We would live apart for 6 months and revisit from there. No guarantees, just guardrails. She called the paper humiliating. I called it a bridge. Bridges don't apologize for the river underneath. She tried to negotiate. Could we shorten the separation, loosen the transparency, skip the counseling? Could we just feel our way back? I told her we had felt our way here. The next step needed to be built. Her voice sharpened. She said I was punishing her. She said I wanted control. I thought about all the nights I'd begged the air for a switch I could flip to make the house soft again. Control is a myth. Stewardship isn't. I pointed to the line that mattered most. I don't trade my self-respect for the hope someone else will find theirs. We sat in the same room with 2 different climates. She cried. I brought a box of tissues from under the sink and set it beside her without speaking. When the words came back, they were smaller. She asked if I could at least say I still loved her. I told her love hadn't evaporated. It had been reclassified. I love a version of us that stopped showing up. I won't bankroll the version that replaced it. She left with the page. The door closed softly. I cleaned the counter because hands need a task after a storm. 2 days passed. I heard nothing, which in our history used to mean she was building a case. I spent those days like a man moving into his own life. Gym at 6, oatmeal, project decks that actually looked clean, a call with my brother about a fishing trip we hadn't made time for in years. The more hours I stacked, the more obvious it became I wasn't waiting. I was living. On the 3rd day, an email came. I can't sign this. It feels like you don't trust me. I read it once. I thought about the week where trust had been cashed like a refund. I replied with 4 words. I trust written work. Then I attached the separation draft and a note. I'll file Friday. Not a threat. A schedule. She arrived at the rental that night with a different strategy. Nostalgia arranged like a centerpiece. She reminded me of our first road trip in the diner with the waitress who called us honeys. She talked about the way I always filled her gas tank, the playlists I made, the way I learned her coffee order by month 2. All true. I held the memories like you hold a photograph you don't intend to frame again. They belonged to that room. We were in this one. She asked if there was anything she could say that would change my mind. I said words weren't the currency here. Signatures were. She said that sounded cold. I said it sounded like a man who has learned the cost of heat without walls. Friday came. I filed. The clerk slid papers across a counter that had seen everything worse and everything better. I walked out into a sun that didn't know my story and drove to work with a lighter grip on the wheel. The next week was a study in withdrawal symptoms. Hers, not mine. She swung between fury and softness, between calling me a monster and calling me the only person who ever really knew her. I answered with the same line each time. When you're ready to sign, send a time. The boundary did the speaking. I did the living. Public alignment paid off now. There was no rumor to outrun. Our circles already had the sentence that accounted for the mess without feeding it. I didn't have to campaign for the version where I wore a halo. I only had to stay the course in the version where I kept my face. Midpoint twist, quiet but clear. Her mother texted to say she'd seen the terms and thought they were fair. Not easy. Fair. A small irony landed on a Tuesday. The gym emailed to say a watch I'd left in the weight room was at the desk. The manager handed it to me and said, "You look lighter lately." I said I am. He didn't ask why. Bless that man. She sent a final, long email a week later. It was both confession and rehearsal, the kind of writing you send to be read in a future where you get credit for owning it. She said she was ashamed. She said she wanted to fix it. She said the page asked too much. I kept my reply shorter than my ring finger. When your behavior matches the page, we can talk. Until then, I wish you well. I didn't hear back. Friends reported she'd moved into a studio with high windows and a plant she keeps forgetting to water. She posts about healing, then posts a meme about men who can't handle a real woman. The internet will always let you be both the hero and the victim if you angle the camera right. I angle mine at the sink when the coffee drips, at the trail when the pines open, at the mirror when I tie my shoes. The ring sat in my sock drawer for a while, because I respected the weight it used to carry. On a calm Saturday, I placed it in a small envelope and mailed it to her with no note, meaning doesn't travel well with instructions. When the separation was final on paper, I didn't celebrate. I took a hike I'd been putting off, the one with switchbacks that eat your lungs and a view that gives them back. At the top, I sat on a flat rock and let the world be loud around me. Somewhere below, a life I had welded myself to was still making noise. Up there, the only thing that mattered was wind and pulse and the fact I kept my own pace. A friend asked me later if I'd ever take her back. The honest answer is simple and boring. If a year passes and her behavior matches a page she once refused, if she can say the whole sentence without flinching and live it without applause, maybe there's a conversation. Maybe there isn't. I don't live in hypotheticals anymore. I live in terms. I got a voicemail from her months later, short, level, almost professional. She said she was moving to a different city for a job. She wished me peace. I listened twice to make sure I didn't miss a trapdoor. There wasn't one. I deleted it and felt exactly what a man should feel when a chapter ends on time. Not anger, just the absence of confusion. There's a small lamp on my nightstand at the rental that I didn't own 6 months ago. It clicks on in the mornings before dawn, and I read a page or two of something that doesn't require me to fix it. I make the bed with square corners. I cook eggs. I send the project update to my manager on Thursdays. It's not a movie. It's a man doing the next right boring thing and finding himself in the middle of it. People keep telling me I handled it well. Maybe. I handled it honestly. The best revenge turned out to be the most ordinary one, refusing to keep paying for the version of me that disappears so someone else can feel large. She said she felt free with him. I believed her. Then I chose mine. Respect was never a bargaining chip. It was the price of admission. When it left the room, I did too. And when a week later she came back to the door I once kept open, I didn't slam it. I left it exactly how boundaries should look when they're working, closed, unlocked, and not my responsibility to manage. The return she wanted didn't come because the man she expected to meet there had already left for a life that tells the truth.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.